I probably am resembling a sausage roll now.
Thinking about Sunday and
Yeah.
the gospel reading for Sunday, which is a slight, it's a bit of a chopped up passage, or a couple of passages from Matthew 11.
Yeah. So,
Start us off.
Given we've been having buffets at the garden parties, I'm going to be buffet-like in my approach and take the bit that takes my fancy.
All right.
So, come unto me, all you who labour and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Yeah, I want to take that bit and the following bit that Jesus talks about. So, if we're interested in following Jesus, we have to come to him. So this isn't something that's passive. We have to intentionally mean it.
Yeah.
Come unto me. And what's the qualification for following him? Being burdened. So I think that could count for most people in different
Yep.
ways, because
Yep.
we're all burdened with different kinds of things. And he says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Where's the only place in the Bible where Jesus talks about the nature of his heart? I'll give you a clue, I've just mentioned it. It's here, isn't it? For I am gentle and lowly of heart. That's the only place
Oh, right.
he discloses
Okay.
it. Yeah?
See, yes, I'm sitting here feeling interrogated. This is the second question you've asked already. We've only been going for about 1 minute.
And gentle, right? Gentle doesn't mean, weak or, wishy-washy. Gentleness is restrained strength. So when we come to Jesus, we come to one who is gentle, who has restrained strength. I think it was either Saint Selwyn or Archimandrite Zophrony that said, coming to Jesus is like a bird alighting on an insulated 10,000 volt overhead cable. We have no idea, in other words, but it is safe, but we have no idea. And then he says, take my yoke upon you. So he said he's going to give us rest, but that involves giving us a yoke. So it's a rest from all the other stuff, but nevertheless it is a yoke. And yoke, of course, often meant come into my school of learning,
Yep.
as well as meaning the agricultural understanding of being yoked to another oxen. An oxen that was older and wiser than you, and while you as a young oxen might, try to push along too quickly and get chafed, or be not get the right rhythm, you need to kind of like follow the rhythm of the older ox and get used to doing it the way. So there's something about being yoked to Jesus and understanding his rhythms and his way that he's trying to get across here. Mm-hmm. And then he says, and learn from me. Learn from me. And one of the interesting things to learn from him is what he's just said before he talks about come unto me, all you who labour and are heavy laden. Because he's just had real difficulties getting his message over to people. And then he says, I thank you, Father. I thank you, Father, that you have revealed these to babes and not revealed them to the wise and understanding. So one of the things it seems we need to learn from Jesus is gratitude. And he gives thanks in the strangest of circumstances. He gives thanks at the Last Supper when he's about to be betrayed and there's a cut and run. He gives thanks when he's only got 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He gives thanks at the grave of Lazarus, his good friend. It seems that gratitude and thanksgiving are the precursor to the release of God's grace and power in and through us, rather than the corollary of them. So there's something about that learning. And then he says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And you think, well, how can this be easy, this yoke of following Jesus, given everything he said? But another word for the Greek that is used for easy there in the New Testament is kind. And arguably what he's trying to get across here is that this is an entirely fitting way for you to be as one in the image and likeness of God, whose vocation is to follow these rhythms and this way with me. So this is why it's kind. It's because it's fitting, not because it's necessarily a DOS in any shape or form. So that was the piece of the buffet
All
that I
right.
chose. You may have gone
So-
for a different item.
Well, no, I think I probably should have gone first, because I just am struck by trying to make sense of the whole passage and why these two pieces have been put together. Why the piece about the woe to the various towns, the verses in the middle have been left out. But I'm struck. I mean, the first chunk is about Jesus lamenting this generation that has rejected him and John the Baptist, and so you've got to pick. I mean, his mood has changed from the previous verses. His mood has changed to this lament, this consternation about the state of the present generation, and then within that we jump over the woe to the various towns. Coming to the passage you were talking about, you've then got, as you say, Jesus being thankful, and this I mean, there's a little bit of a kind of Johannine echo in the way in which Jesus knows the Father knows the Son, and only those to whom the Son reveals know the Father. So you've got this interrelation, this profound interrelationship with the Father and the Son, and that contrasts with the one who has been the one who's been rejected by those who say he's a glutton and a drunkard and so forth. So you've got a picture then. I mean, in my mind, the constant theme in Matthew's Gospel is learning to be a disciple. So in my mind, you've got the picture painted of this lamentable generation, and yet some of you are called to be disciples. You're called to be part of this intimate relationship between Father and Son, which is a relationship of grace and love, and one that is beyond comprehension, beyond understanding, and what flows from that, if you are drawn into that, is that behaviour that you've described, taking on the yoke. So discipleship is both grace and response, so you've, in a sense, you've got a little summary across those two paragraphs of what Matthew's overarching message is.
And as you speak, I think, and another way in which we're learning from Jesus is the model of lament he uses through this passage, that it begins with complaint, it moves into petition, which is prayer, remembrance of God, and issues in both following and gratitude. So it's not left just at complaint.
Absolutely, and I think you've got that sense of movement, and that interesting little phrase about wisdom being known by her deeds, and Matthew, without spelling it out, is basic, seems to be eliding Jesus and wisdom. So it is deeds that matter. It's Jesus' deeds, but then in that second section we discover it's our deeds too that matter. It's how we behave that matters in response to being drawn into this relationship between the Father and the Son.
And that being yoked with leaves you with the impression that somehow this is about it being undertaken together, and somehow us being caught up in the way of Jesus in the world today.
Yeah.